Now we have 3.3, the human factors which influence safety related behavior. Human factors which influence safety related behavior. You know the human factors influencing safety related behavior. Look at the behavior and it is all the way linking with the job, the individual and the organization. So it's a center point actually. The behavior, the attitude, the way you behave. Sometimes I say skills are teachable. Skills are teachable, but what about your behavior? What about your attitude? Actually, it's really hard to change. That is your property, and make sure you develop it. Yes, we can support, we can guide, motivate, train, but ultimately, you are the one going to accept that you have to change your behavior and fit in as per the nature of your business and projects. Like the safest behavior means a part of safety culture, better safe culture, and negative behavior means another kind of indicator for negative culture, actually, negative safety culture. So it all revolves among the organization, the individual, and the job itself. So let me repeat again, skills are teachable, but your attitude, your behavior, this is a major portion. You have to make sure you are changing your behavior every day and fitting yourself in the culture of the company you joined in, rather than influencing negatively within your company. Now, what are the organizational factors? The organizational factors is all about safety culture, commitment and leadership, resources available, work patterns, communication is there, level of supervision, peer group pressure and consultation of worker involvement, and training. So these are organizational factors for safety culture, commitment and leadership, resources available, work patterns, communication, level of supervision, peer group pressure and consultation of worker involvement, and also you provide the training. So it all depends for the job factors, because three factors are there. So job factors is all about task, workload, environment, displays and controls and procedures. Any activity, any process of your business, if you didn't guide properly or you don't have some kind of work instructions or SOPs or procedures, or you don't consider the human factor that the person can complete 4 tasks or just maybe 1 task. Like if a person can complete 10 tasks and you are giving him 20 tasks, it will affect his job for sure. And this is happening, by the way. Like the project required 50 employees, but the company management straightforwardly mentioned only with 25 you have to finish this project. So those 25 surely are overloaded, a lot of workload, and they became terrible stress they are facing. Their health could also be affecting. Like if my company can complete or have capacity to complete 2 projects, why I'm accepting 10 different projects? Because my capacity is to deliver, to execute 2 projects. Why I'm accepting the other 8? And if I have accepted, then for those 8 projects, I should hire the human resources or kind of the right person for the right job for those projects. Either I need 25 or 50 for each project, or should I give pressure to the existing project employees, and telling them finish this project as quick as possible because you have other 8 projects. So then they would love to take shortcuts and horrible kind of environment they'll be facing in, kind of unsafe environment, unsafe conditions, just to wrap up this project as quick as possible. And it's a human nature as well to do things as quick as possible. And you also motivated them. You have several other projects, just complete it and move on. So Task, workload, environment, displays and controls, procedures, all are relevant to job factors. Now, what are the individual factors? It depends on the competence, and we know how to define competence. It's a game of knowledge, ability, training, and experience, and of course, skills and personality, attitude and motivation, the thing that is making a person do what they do, rewards, incentive, positive or negative. One of the company I was involved to develop their one of the system, we call it IMS, integrated management system, and unfortunately they terminated one of the general manager, and I shocked how come they can terminate immediately. And the reason was that general manager was coming late every day, and they gave a lot of warnings for the last 6 months, but he simply ignored, and all board members, they decided it can terribly influence to the other employees, so better to avoid this negative trickle down effect, we are unfortunately going to take that unwanted decision, the bold decision to remove, to eliminate that general manager from the company. And they didn't think anything else, because they tried everything, and now they have only one option to terminate. And that general manager was the backbone of that company also. But the board members, they realized we can bring a general manager who will definitely manage somehow, but we need a good attitude. We need a disciplined attitude. We need a safety manager who will, first of all, will be leading by example and following safety regulations and preaching safety regulations through his own actions, actually, instead of just violating safety regulations by himself and expecting others to follow safety regulations. That is why the right person for the right job, especially in leadership positions, is very much imperative. What is attitude? A person's point of view or way of looking at something, how they think and feel about it, can be changed by education and training. We can change the attitude, but high impact interventions, enforcement, consultation, and involvement. So we will try. We will try to make our employees' attitude positive, but if few of them are unable to change and not at all having adaptability to accept that change, especially to changing their own behavior, then we have no option other than to eliminate or put, some other fine policies in between. Risk perception is kind of the opinion, the way you perceive, is it a terrible risk or ignorable, negligible, or tolerable, in other words. This is it entirely depends on your perception. But your perception can surely be affected with several factors. And those factors may be your sight, your hearing, your smell, your taste, your touch. Accordingly, your senses will work and you will perceive either this is the risk or it's not a risk. Now we have a group exercise and you will be shown the following slide for 20 seconds. You are asked to count the number of F's. I'll show you the next slide, and let me turn on the stopwatch for 20 seconds. And within 20 seconds, you just need to find how many F's are there. And then we'll see within 20 seconds who can find out all the F's. And your time starts now. Done. Yes. How many F's you found, Mr. Fawaz? Mr. Abdul Malik, Mr. Muhammad.
Yes.
Yes. How many F's you found there?
4.
4. Okay. Any other opinion? 5. Mr. Muhammad, you mentioned 5.
I believe only 3.
Only 3. Within 20 seconds, you found 3. Okay. Any other opinion, please? Number of F's in 20 seconds and one slide. So 3, 4, and 5. So 3 different opinions. That means 3 different perceptions, 3 different understandings in some level. So that is the point to understand, that every person have a different perception. Like you're gonna say, oh, this is a terrible risk. Someone will say, no, 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 this is not terrible. This is quite normal. So how you perceive risk is called risk perception. And now let's count how many F's are there. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The total 6 F are there. But everyone have different opinion. Everyone have different observational skills. That is why there must be a risk assessment team rather than doing it individually. Same like we have safety committee. Same way, make sure you have a risk assessment team and make sure whichever department or process you are going to conduct a risk assessment, make sure one of the gentlemen is relevant to the same department and part of your risk assessment team. Don't do it individually. So what is risk perception? Factors that can distort a person's perception of hazard and risk include: if a person is ill, his perception would be different. If a person is under stress or having fatigue or drugs, alcohol, or previous experiences, training and education, use of PPs and workplace conditions, high noise levels, all these factors can divert the perception of any person, especially for a risk. So make sure, in our risk assessment team, make sure the people we selected are the right person for the right job, and they have some sort of technical expertise for that particular area. Let me give you an example. If I'm doing risk assessment of electric panels area, let's take an example. Make sure in my risk assessment team, I must have at least one electrical engineer. If I'm doing risk assessment of a chemical area, make sure someone as a chemical engineer working within your company must be part of that risk assessment team. And if I'm doing risk assessment for excavation process, let's take an example. So a civil engineer must be part of my risk assessment team and several others. So accordingly, we can have a good perceptions all together and find out the right set of evaluation, and different kind of risks surely going to be there. But for evaluation and the way they perceive is very much important to understand. That is why make sure your risk assessment team must be a team of good observers, kind of deep observers, a kind of intelligent people who can perceive risk in a better way and can evaluate, and accordingly they will suggest plenty of controls if they're not happy with the existing controls. Okay guys, so this is all about the 3.3. Now we are going to discuss